Hello friends, welcome to my channel Quiz and Storyline. Friends, I kindly request you to subscribe to my second channel, Anokai Movie Stories, where I explain this video in Urdu. Today we are talking about a story that begins with Iman, who works as a cashier in a bank. Just like every day, Iman arrives early for his work. Although his job was good, his salary was only 1,000 ringgit, which he considered too little. One day, an old woman, who was a regular customer of the bank, comes to Iman with a lot of 1-cent coins to deposit them into her account. Iman refuses and says that they do not accept 1-cent coins. At that moment, the bank manager, Rasa, arrives and the woman complains to him about Iman. Rasa scolds Iman and tells him to accept the coins and apologize to the woman. Iman apologizes but becomes upset. Because of this, he takes a break and goes for coffee with his friend Anton. Anton is the head of the bank's security department and they have been childhood friends. At that time, Anton's boss, Aaron, is also present and is scolding Anton because the online banking server has been down for quite some time and Anton hasn't been able to find a solution. Aaron warns her that if the issue is not resolved soon, she will replace her with someone else. Anton becomes very worried. Iman, standing at a distance, observes everything. He has feelings for Anton but doesn't have the courage to tell her. Anton remembers that Iman has been a computer expert since their school days. She asks Iman for help. Iman tells her that the system has been infected with a virus called digital karma and that the hacker has threatened to erase all the bank's customer data if 30 million bitcoins are not paid by 2:30 p.m. Iman removes the virus from the system, saving the customers money. Seeing this, Anton becomes very happy. Then both of them go to the rooftop of the bank building to have lunch. Later, we see that Iman returns home from the bank in the evening, but suddenly he experiences stomach issues. He rushes to his flat, and as soon as he enters, he sees many boxes lying around. But he ignores the boxes and, after going to the bathroom, asks his father about them. Iman's father tells him that the boxes contain black cumin tablets, a medicine used for stomach problems and boosting the immune system. Iman realizes that the money he had given his father for rent was spent on medicine instead, which makes him upset, and he scolds his father before going to his room. While talking to himself, Iman reflects that he used to be just like his father. Back when he was in college, he frequently hacked the college server. Eventually, Iman was expelled from college because of his hacking activities, and we learn that he has extensive knowledge of hacking. A little later, as he is working on his laptop in his room, he suddenly hears something fall. He rushes out of the room and finds his father unconscious on the floor. Panicking, Iman takes him to the hospital. After some time, the doctor informs him that his father had a heart attack and will need bypass surgery. The doctor explains that while the government offers a cheaper option, it would require a wait of 2 to 3 weeks, but Iman's father doesn't have that much time. Iman becomes distressed because the private bypass surgery would cost 60,000 rupees, not including the hospital bills. Hearing this, Iman feels completely hopeless as he doesn't have the money. His friend Anton, who was with him, offers to help by taking out a loan. The next day, Iman goes to his manager at the bank to apply for a loan, but the manager flatly refuses, explaining that Iman is still on a contract and hasn't become a permanent employee yet. Iman protests, saying he's worked at the bank for 2 years, but the manager points out that his attitude toward customers hasn't been good, which is why he hasn't been made permanent. Disappointed, Iman returns to the hospital and sits beside his father, deep in thought. Anton tells him that her loan application was also denied, but she has saved 30,000 rupees which she can give him. Iman refuses to take Anton's savings. Now he is feeling utterly helpless because he has no money to save his father. In the evening, when Iman comes home and takes out his key to open the door, someone calls his name from behind. As he turns around, 2 men hit him on the head with a rod. In the next scene, we see a desolate place where Iman has been knocked out and tied to a chair. After some time, a man named Devon, the boss of the place, arrives. Devon threatens Iman and reveals that his father had taken a loan of 30,000 for business, which hasn't been repaid yet. Devon warns that if the money is not returned within 2 days, Iman's life will be in danger. The next day, Iman returns to the bank, still deeply troubled. The wound on his head is clearly visible. As he enters the bank, he notices a new guy named Ish. Ish introduces himself to Iman. Shortly after, Anton arrives and asks Iman about his injury. Iman lies, saying he had an accident where his head hit a door. Iman was feeling sick, and just then, the same elderly woman who had come to deposit coins a few days ago approached him again. This time, she showed him her passbook and pointed out that some cents had been deducted from her account. Iman checked and found that only 1 cent had been deducted. Suddenly, an idea struck him. He thought if he could deduct just 1 cent from each customer's account, no one would notice, and by doing this across 9.5 million accounts, he could collect a total of 90,000 rupees. He begins planning to hack the bank's system and creates a virus. He hides this virus in a simple file and names it Bintang Bank Account Opening Application. He then sends the virus to the bank through a fake email. As soon as the manager opens the file, Iman gains full access to the bank's system. Iman knew that once the administrative PC was hacked, the admin would have to restart the computer, and when they did, Iman would receive their password, allowing him access to the bank's central server. Iman's plan seems to be succeeding as he now has control over the bank's system. Iman deducts 1 cent from each of the 9.5 million accounts as a service charge, totaling 95,000 rupees. He then deposits the amount into the bank's collection account. Iman then searched for inactive or dormant bank accounts and found one under the name Gundo Enterprises that had been inactive for the past 10 years. Iman transferred the 95,000 rupees into Gundo Enterprises account. Now he could solve all his problems with this money, so he started dancing with joy. But suddenly, there was a knock at the door. It was Devon's man, who had come to collect the 30,000 rupees Iman had promised to repay in 2 days. Realizing who they were, Iman didn't open the door and quickly grabbed his laptop to escape through the window. The men broke down the door and saw Iman running. He rushed outside and headed toward his bike, but he had forgotten the keys inside the house, so he had to flee on foot. The men were chasing him. As Iman ran, he spotted a car and, mistaking it for a taxi, jumped inside, asking the driver to take him to Bintang Bank. The driver informed him that this wasn't a taxi but a cab that needed to be booked through a mobile app. Iman handed him some cash and urgently told him to drive. The driver, noticing the men chasing them, sped up. After driving a short distance, Iman saw that the men were still pursuing him on a bike. The driver started driving even faster. Iman then thought about how he would withdraw the 95,000 rupees, realizing that if he transferred the money directly into his account, he would get caught, and withdrawing it from an ATM wasn't possible due to the withdrawal limit. He needed to go to the bank and withdraw the money from Gundo Enterprises account. Iman pulled out his laptop and sent an email from Gundo Enterprises ID to another branch of Bintang Bank, informing them that an employee of Gundo Enterprises was coming to collect cash. Then he called the bank and told the manager that he was from Gundo Enterprises and that his name was Mamo. He explained that his boss had sent him to collect the cash. Somehow, Iman managed to evade the men and reached the bank. Once inside, he approached the manager, who had already prepared the 95,000 rupees. Iman told the manager that he was Mamo. The manager asked him for ID, but Iman said he had forgotten to bring it in his hurry, though he had a photo of it on his phone. In reality, Iman had created a fake ID under Mamo's name beforehand. The manager handed him the money, and as Iman was leaving the bank, Devon's men arrived and started arguing with the cab driver. Iman quickly went outside and handed them their 30,000 rupees. The men took the money and left, allowing Iman to breathe a sigh of relief. Moving forward, we see Iman using the remaining money to pay for his father's bypass surgery. The next day, Iman confidently returned to work. As usual, he was heading toward the intern's cabin to have lunch with her when he noticed that his assistant, Aish, was already there, and the two were having coffee. Iman left without talking to the intern. After completing his work at the bank, Iman went to the hospital to see his father. His father's surgery had been completed. Standing by his father's side, Iman reflected on how what he did was wrong, but he had no choice if he wanted to save his father. Suddenly, the scene shifts, and we see Riza, Iman's boss, and the manager of Bintang Bank, severely injured and kneeling on the ground, begging for his life. Someone was holding a gun to his head. Riza sobbed, saying he had made a mistake and would never do it again, but the person shot him, and Bintang Bank's manager was killed. The face of the person who shot him was not shown, and the first episode ends here. In the next episode, we see Iman in the bank's server room, hearing the sound of coins dropping. When he goes to check, he sees himself picking up a large number of coins from the floor and stuffing them into his stomach. Seeing this, Iman says to himself that he has stolen too much from the bank. This frightens Iman, and he suddenly wakes up, realizing it was just a dream. At that moment, he was still in the hospital with his father. In the next scene, we see the intern and Aish informing Aaron that they were attacked by a hacker named Digital Karma, but everything is fine now because they updated their antivirus software. Aish suggests that they should inform the police since their bank's data almost got hacked. Aaron argues that they can't reveal this, as it would scare their customers, potentially causing them to close their accounts with the bank. Aish explains that last year, the same hacker, Digital Karma, hacked Mint Bank and defrauded them of 20 million in exchange for returning the data. Erin responds that she sees hackers as terrorists because they always harm others. A little while later, the intern and Aish leave Erin's office, and they notice that the bank staff are gathered around a TV with worried expressions. They were watching the news about their manager, Riza, who had been shot dead the night before. The bank staff were in disbelief as they watched the news. Iman was also watching the news with the staff and recalled the dream he had the previous night. Meanwhile, Van's role, a chief security officer, arrives with his team. Van's used to be in the police force, responsible for providing security to high-ranking officials and VIPs, but now he's the chief security officer. Vance tells the bank staff that he's there to investigate Riza's death and that no one can leave the bank until the investigation is complete. Hearing this, Iman becomes terrified because he had committed fraud at the bank a few days earlier. If the investigation exposed his fraud, he would be suspected of Riza's murder, even though he had nothing to do with it. Iman knew that if the police checked Riza's computer, they would find the email containing the malware Iman had sent. To avoid getting caught, Iman needed to find a way to delete that email, but the problem was that his laptop was at home, and he couldn't leave the bank until the investigation was over. However, Iman realized that if he could reach the server room, he could delete the email and the virus file from there. But the server room was on the 4th floor of the bank, and only a few people on the staff had access to it. Even the elevator to the 4th floor required the fingerprints of authorized personnel to open. This meant that reaching the server room was nearly impossible for Iman. All of this made Iman extremely anxious, and he started feeling sick. He went to the restroom, hoping to vomit. When Iman entered the washroom, he found Shrimat, a cybersecurity employee, already there. Shrimat had left his phone by the sink and gone into the toilet, as he was suffering from an upset stomach. While Shrimat was away, his phone started ringing, and Iman's attention was drawn to it. Upon picking it up, Iman noticed the phone was covered in fingerprints. Since Shrimat was part of the cybersecurity team, he had access to the elevator that led to the server room. Iman quickly removed the screen protector from Shrimat's phone, as it held his fingerprints. This meant Iman could now use these prints on the elevator sensor to reach the 4th floor. However, the problem was that Iman wasn't authorized to use that elevator, as he was considered regular staff. So, he swiftly went to the housekeeping room, grabbed a uniform, and returned to the elevator carrying some cleaning supplies. He then placed the screen protector on the sensor to open the elevator. Just then, another employee arrived, chatting on his phone, which made Iman very nervous. He quickly reapplied the screen protector to the sensor, but the fingerprints didn't register on the first try. He hurriedly cleaned the screen protector and tried again. This time, the sensor successfully recognized Shrimat's fingerprints, and the elevator began to move. Once he reached the 4th floor, Iman headed to the admin PC room first, as he needed to print an access card to enter the server room. These access cards could only be printed from the admin room. The admin room also required special access, so Iman once again used the screen protector to enter. Once inside, the first thing he did was delete all CCTV footage from his counter to the washroom and the housekeeping room, as all these areas had cameras. After deleting the footage, he disabled all the cameras for 15 minutes, giving him enough time to return to his counter unnoticed. Iman set a timer on his watch and began searching the admin PC for a list of employees who had server room access. He found that intern assistant Ash had the necessary clearance. Iman immediately printed an access card in Ash's name, ensuring that if anything went wrong, Ash would take the blame. Meanwhile, Erin, the head of cybersecurity, was talking in her office with Wayne and his team. Just then, intern and Ash entered the room. Ash asked why Reza's computer had been brought into Erin's office instead of waiting for the police to arrive. Erin explained that she wanted to personally inspect the computer. In truth, Erin didn't want the police to find anything on Reza's computer that could scare the bank's clients, as it could lead to major financial losses and damage the bank's reputation. Ash, however, believed the police should be the ones to investigate Reza's computer, but as he was just an assistant, he had little say in the matter. The intern was also growing uncomfortable with Ash's attitude, as she was only there to do her job. At that moment, Wayne received a call and asked both the intern and Ash to follow him. Meanwhile, Iman, having printed the access card, hurried toward the server room. He now had only 11 minutes left. As Iman approached the elevator to the server room, he noticed it was already coming up, meaning someone was inside. If the elevator doors opened, Iman could get caught. But when the doors opened, a female member of the cybersecurity team stepped out. Iman quickly hid in a nearby room, but she heard the door close behind him. She approached the door but, after a moment, turned and went into another room, allowing Iman to narrowly avoid being caught. At the same time, Wayne took the intern and Ash to the CCTV room because all the cameras had suddenly gone offline, something Iman had caused. The intern explained that the system was undergoing an upgrade, but Wayne found it strange since they only did upgrades after working hours, not during them. Ash suspected that someone had hacked the bank's system, but the intern assured him that their systems were secure and no hacker could penetrate them. Wayne, still skeptical, suggested they check anyway. The intern added that their firewall had just been upgraded, meaning any external hacking attempts would be immediately detected. Ash pointed out that the hacker could be an insider, someone familiar with coding and hacking. Wayne, in a sarcastic tone, remarked that Ash should probably be working with his team instead of the bank. Meanwhile, Iman reached the 4th floor and used the access card he had created under Ash's name to enter the server room. Inside, he found massive server machines and now had to locate the one containing the malware he had sent. With only 9 minutes left, Iman began checking the machines one by one. Then, he spotted a computer connected to a server machine, which could help him identify where the malware was stored. At the same time, the intern received a call informing her that someone had tampered with the firewall system in the admin PC room. The team rushed to the admin room, where they discovered that someone had used the printer, something Iman had done to print the access card. At that moment, Wayne received a message that Ash had recently accessed the server room. However, Ash was standing right in front of him. Wayne, suspicious, asked Ash for his identification. Ash showed his ID, and Wayne began to suspect that Ash was behind everything, ordering him to be detained. But the intern intervened, explaining that Ash had been with her all morning and hadn't gone anywhere. Then Wayne prohibited everyone in the admin room from leaving and headed toward the server room. When the intern checked the system, she discovered that someone had printed an access card in Ash's name. She stated that someone wanted to trap their team, knowing that access to the server room was exclusive to them. Meanwhile, Iman had located his malware within the server, but Wayne had also arrived in the server room by then. Realizing someone had entered the room, Iman quickly initiated the deletion of the malware file and hid himself. Wayne checked behind a server machine, but Iman seized the opportunity to dash out of the server room. Wayne sensed that someone had fled the room and rushed out, but Iman had already descended the stairs. Wayne immediately ordered his team to cover all exits of the bank to prevent anyone from escaping. After reaching the ground floor, Iman, holding Shrimat's screen protector, made his way to the housekeeping room to change clothes. Just then, one of Wayne's team members bumped into him. Iman apologized and attempted to leave, but paused when he heard the man's voice. He realized that the collision had caused the screen protector to fall from his hand. Iman felt terrified, knowing that surrendering would mean a 10-year sentence. However, at that moment, the man picked up the screen protector and handed it back to Iman before leaving. Iman breathed a sigh of relief and quickly changed his clothes in the housekeeping room. Meanwhile, 15 minutes had passed, and the CCTV cameras had resumed operation, but by then, Iman had already changed and was heading back to his counter. Aware that the cameras were back on, he took the washroom route to his counter to make it seem like he had been in the washroom all along. Meanwhile, Wayne hurried to the bank's transaction area with his team and instructed them to check all the counters to ensure the bank staff were present. Wayne inspected each counter until he reached Iman's, but Iman was not there. Just then, Iman stood up from below, picked up a pen, and pretended he had dropped it, claiming he was looking for it. Wayne moved past without suspicion. Next, we see Wayne questioning Shrimat about what he was doing on the second floor. Shrimat, looking anxious, replied that he hadn't gone anywhere and had been at his post for a long time. Wayne asked how Shrimat's fingerprints had been used in the elevator if he hadn't left. Iman had used the screen protector from his phone with Shrimat's fingerprints to redirect suspicion onto him. The intern defended Shrimat, saying he had been at his post all morning. Wayne remarked that access to the server room was only held by the intern's team, thus casting suspicion on them. Ash pointed out that only the bank's security and a few vice presidents had access to the server room. Wayne countered that vice presidents wouldn't have the same knowledge as the intern's team. Ash then inquired whether anyone in the bank had prior hacking experience. At that moment, the intern remembered Iman, who had protected their system from a notorious hacker. Iman stood at his counter, thinking that he had no connection to Reza's death and felt safe, allowing him to relax. The intern approached him and took him along. She led him to the building's roof, showing him on her laptop that someone had hacked the server room and admin PC, gaining access using their access cards. Iman claimed he had been at his counter and suggested she check the CCTV footage. He knew the cameras were off at that time, but the intern was unaware. She believed Iman was telling the truth, as he wouldn't suggest checking the footage otherwise. Later, Iman visited the hospital to see his father, whose surgery had been successful, and he was recovering. Iman felt happy because he had no more worries. The doctor informed Iman that his father would be discharged in a week, but the bed charges, medication, and tests would cost around 15,000 ringgit. Iman thought about how he had deleted the bank's malware and that an investigation was underway regarding Reza's death, so he couldn't steal money from the bank again. Exiting the ATM, Iman noticed that machines from 3 different banks were available. This sparked the realization that there were many banks in the country, and if his malware could work on one bank, it could also function on others. He devised a plan to target another bank. Back home, he began to repeat the same procedure he had used to rob the Pintang Bank. Iman was aware that each bank had an admin PC connected to the server room. When his malware infiltrated the admin PC, the server would hang, prompting the IT department to enter a new password that Iman would become aware of. He targeted the Mintri Bank, which has a total of 13 million customers. Even if 1 penny were deducted from each customer's account, the total amount would be substantial. He then identified all the banks in the country and found that there were 9 banks, with the Pintang Bank already robbed. The remaining 8 banks had millions of customers, and deducting just 1 penny daily could yield millions in profits. Meanwhile, the intern entered the server room to check all the data. Ash approached her, claiming he had come to assist, but the intern stated that she preferred to do her work independently. Suddenly, she received a message from Aaron, summoning her and Ash to her cabin. The intern informed Aaron that no data had been stolen, and no malware was found since Iman had already deleted everything. Aaron was displeased and appointed Ash as the intern's boss. Angered by this, the intern returned and told Shimmer to leave, but Shimmer insisted on showing her something. He revealed that he had recovered some CCTV footage. The intern watched as Iman exited the washroom, smiling at the cameras. This raised her suspicions about Iman. Iman took his father for a ride in a sports car and showed him a fully finished apartment. His father was astonished at where Iman had acquired so much money. Iman claimed it was their new home, but his father was not pleased. He questioned Iman about how he had achieved all this. Iman replied that he had received a promotion at the bank and was now wealthy. During their meal, the doorbell rang, and when Iman opened the door, Dev and his men arrived. Dev remarked that he had heard about Iman's newfound wealth, and then the sound of gunfire echoed. This marked the end of the season. I kindly request you to help me reach 10,000 subscribers on my channel soon. We hope you all enjoyed this video and will like it. Please subscribe to our channel. Thank you for your loving comments. See you in the next video.